which is the beauty of it. Stephanie Abruzzo was saying that most of this job is, and I'm now quote puppeteers all the time. My kids are like, "What? Who?" I'm like, "Oh, don't worry, just take the advice." But she was saying that most of this job is problem solving and figuring out how to do something, and which is transferable outside of just theater and puppetry. But it really is true. You really just are trying to figure out, how do I do this? And eventually get faster and faster and faster at figuring out how to do it and how to make something come across.
Welcome back to Puppeteers. We're your hosts, Adam Krutinger
and Cameron Garrity.
And today we have on the show Chris Thomas Hayes. Welcome to the show, buddy.
What's up, fellas? How you guys doing?
Hey, it is so good to have you here. Happy New Year. First show of 2021. And
very exciting.
It's so good to have you here. And longtime fans will recognize you. We had you on last summer for our Live-A-Palooza event. But if it's anybody's first time, for those who don't know, Chris Thomas Hayes is just an incredible performer, and he is one of the Sesame Street mentees. He performs Hoots the Owl on Sesame Street now, and he's also been a traveling member of Madcap Puppets in the past, affiliated with the Center for Puppetry Arts, and we are so excited to have him here. Chris Thomas Hayes, welcome to Puppeteers.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate y'all having me.
Absolutely.
So we're excited to get into the thick of things, but what are you working on right now?
Oh, man. If you had asked me a month ago what I was working on, it would have just been a lot of personal projects and me trying to get my stuff pushed through the creators and creative production. But now, like, honestly, within the last week, there's just so much stuff got out of my desk. And, like, most stuff I can't talk about, obviously, but it's just so exciting. And I'm like, oh, my God, thank God. And I don't know whether it's because 2020 is wrapping up and they're like, that's over, let's get ready. Or whatever happened if somebody in the back pulled like the switch and like, let's get back to work. But it seems like, my agent and everyone else has been like, okay, let's go. Wow. So a lot of
that's
stuff
amazing.
That's good to hear.
So I know you can't really talk much about it, so you don't have to answer this if you can, but is it all Sesame Street related, or is it like other things? And if you can't say, that's okay.
A lot of it is Sesame related. There is some other stuff too, which is really exciting that we have going on.
Awesome.
Super exciting. Oh, hopefully we'll, when it works out. If it works out, I'll let you guys know immediately.
Okay, we'll have to do an update. That's great.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I've promised to debut the information on Puppeteers. So sorry. Put that in the contract.
We'll hold you to it.
We love exclusives.
That's great. Yeah, it's a good year. Good stuff coming up. We all kind of like, it's like the garden hose was kinked for 2020, and then we went, and then the water just splashes us in the face. So. Hopefully that'll keep going.
That's really, that's so good to hear.
There's just a little bit coming out, and we just
Wow.
So hopefully this is up.
No, that's great. And so for I know you've been affiliated with the Center for Puppetry Arts in the past, and being in Atlanta, is that a place that you still have a connection to in terms of like performance or building or anything like that?
Yeah, well, I love the center. I've told them that 1,000 times. I was like, hey, even if things don't work out, I want to let you know that this is my home. It's my creative place. With the center, I literally was in Ohio, Cincinnati, with the Madcap Puppets. I've been touring with them for a couple years, and then I moved to Atlanta for the center and for the budding film industry. And working at the center, next to the stuff we do at Sesame, like this, it's just like one of the highlights of my puppet life, and in general my career. Just like the things that they do there with live theater is amazing, and I love that. I love the awe factor and the wow factor in a lot of their shows, and they specifically build it in. They build their shows to be like, what's going to be impressive, what's going to tell this story, and I'm super honored to have been able to audition there. and to successfully make casts, because I've definitely auditioned there and not been, not made it. But like after I made it through some hurdles and worked my way up a little bit to come back to Atlanta and audition and then move here, it's really satisfying.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. How many times had you auditioned for them and not gotten through? How long did it take you to get through to get in?
It might. Well, honestly, what happens? I started in college. In college, I don't know what I was thinking. Now looking back, I was like, "What if it had worked out?" Other than the worst case scenario, it was like junior year. It might have been early senior year, but junior year, I think it was junior year. I was on a trip. I'm in Cincinnati. I decided to drive down with my girlfriend at the time, and we stayed at my dad's house. And I was like, "We're in Atlanta. I'm going to get an audition for the Center for Puppetry Arts." This is 2005. I've been doing a little bit of puppetry, but nowhere near the amount I would have had done when I came back to audition. And we rode down there, and I sent emails. Oh my God, emails. I sent emails and mailed my resume, and I got an audition. And just walking into that building, I was like, this is the place I remember from when I was young, because I'm from Connecticut. And I would spend summers in Atlanta, and I hated it. But I hated Atlanta passion. But the one thing I loved about Atlanta was the center. I knew that I was like, that was awful summer, but we did go to the center. So pretty good summer.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. So walking into the building and auditioning immediately, I auditioned for the late Bobby Box, who has a really good relationship with a lot of other Sesame puppeteers. Peter Lins for one, but Bobby Box was great. Him and Michael Haverty auditioned me. I was a junior in college, and I picked up puppets with the right hand, and they asked me to do a bunch of exercises. I was like, "Ha ha, I got it." Then they asked me to switch hands, and I was like, "Oh, okay,
I don't got it."
Oh no. Then they asked me to
God.
put down the hand in a rod puppet and pick up the other one. I was like, "What the hell is that?" And so after that, I was just like, you did a really good job. Maybe we can offer you something down the road, but this, you're not going to work. And so if I had got it, I guess I would have had to drop out of college, or I don't even know what I would have done. But it was definitely the spark that lit. So that was the main time. And it may have been one other time when I auditioned for them, but that was before I decided that I toured and went out there and really got into shape puppet wise.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes, I feel like one of those moments of kind of getting a little humiliated of like, oh, I've been thinking for, a really long time that I'm at this level. And then you meet someone who's like in the industry or whatever, and they're like, you got a lot of way to go, kid. But that kind of lights the fire on you, under you even more than before. And it like gets you to like get motivated and
Absolutely.
And step on up.
And that happens with, I'm sure, I don't know if Matt talked about this or Peter. He's talked about it before when I've talked with him, just the idea of going from that theater puppetry, moving into the TV puppetry, when you got to puppet down here, you're like, aha, and you're over it with the marionettes. But as soon as it goes up and the monitor comes in, you're like, oh my God, I don't think I've ever done this before. And it just like fries your brain, but that's the same idea. It's just like, you see the people who've been in like, you got some work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. When you audition for those things, do you have any idea how many people you were up against at the center?
No, never.
Potentially, yeah.
I've never known who else they were seeing.
I'm just. It makes me wonder, because I know we have a very strong local theater community here in Buffalo, and it can be very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew, like, if there was like a puppet show they were auditioning for, I mean, they'd probably be pulling teeth to get people to go to it, and most often of the time they'd take an actor and just try to train them rather than finding someone who was formerly a puppeteer. So I was just kind of wondering if you had any idea of, was it mostly people who called themselves puppeteers who auditioned, or do you think it was mostly people that were like actors kind of looking for a gig and trying to spread their wings a little more?
If I'm guessing, this is totally assumption. Vincent Anthony may come back on like he's wrong, but my assumption is that my assumption is that most people are actors, and puppets are a tool that they have in their back pocket. Like, hey, I know how to juggle, I can do puppets. And a lot of the theaters specifically have been like, it's going to be a lot easier to take someone who is a trained vocalist or a trained dancer or a trained actor and then teach them how to do puppets the way that we do it, rather than vice versa, having some guy who's really into puppets who can't sing or can't act or can't read copy or can't move. So that's my assumption.
Yeah, no, I would agree. It's something we talk about on here a lot. And, a way I like to think about it is like all puppeteers are actors, but not necessarily all actors are puppeteers, but they're trainable typically.
Right.
So
Yeah. There's something about learning the different styles and whatnot. But yeah, and actors are used to that. We're used to getting stuff from like, do it like this and get it really quickly because everyone's waiting. So
yeah, exactly. They're good at being flexible like that. That's amazing. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and I know you have a very in-depth acting background as a person as well.
Yeah, that's what I thought I was going to be doing. I was, I don't know what in my brain, like, well, you know, it's just the same thing everybody thinks when they're in acting classes and when they're in college. They're like, surely I just leave here and I go to movies or Broadway, right? I pick one. When do I pick one? I pick one junior year, then you just go straight into starring in movies, right? And that's obviously not the way it happens. So I dropped out of college freshman year, took a gap year, and that's when I started doing just like featured extra work and stuff like that in Connecticut, and I was super pumped. I was like, I'm rich now. I'm at my mom's house with $700. The world's my oyster.
I didn't know they filmed stuff like that in Connecticut.
Yeah, we filmed, there's a couple of things, not a ton. Goodness knows, because most people would just go up to New York. But some stuff, I filmed my first film, Whirly Girl. Oh my God. And that I had dreadlocks. In Avon, Connecticut, they shot on location. And I did a bunch of days there. That was my first taste into seeing how life was on set. And I was like, well, that's amazing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. I saw from looking at your website, which is really cool too, that you were in Vampire Diaries and Teen Wolf. I remember watching Teen Wolf too, and I watched some of those clips of you in there again. I was like, oh my gosh, I got some feels just from like watching that style of television again, because it was like a time period. It was like, oh my gosh, I remember when stuff used to be filmed like this. Like it just had that
everything.
That
brooding, is that what you're gonna say?
I don't even know how to it was just so nostalgic to watch some clips of that again. I was like, oh my gosh, it really brought me back. It was awesome.
When I moved here, and I think this is super important for anybody trying to break into any industry. Even if you were like, I want to be a dentist or whatnot, mentorship was specifically something that when I moved here, I was like, I want to move to Atlanta. I want to sleep on some couches for about a year, but more importantly, I wanted to be hooked up with every older actor who is really just doing this for real in this city and figure out what I need to do. What I need to do to not end up in an adult film, or just to make sure that I'm talking to the right people and going to the right auditions. And I did that. I met with Abe Clark, who is he's a restaurateur and he's a actor here in Atlanta. He's a trained dancer. He's in the Beat It video. When we were little, we used to know, like, Abe Clark is in the Beat It video. We would go over his house. Lapri Young, who works here, he's in everything. You'll see him in a lot of different things. And a couple other actors who literally took me under their wing and like marched me into like a bunch of agencies. To be like, these are the folks to talk to. These are how auditions are. Make sure that your headshot looks like this. Eric Goins, another one. But taking the classes, I took improv and stand-up classes when I was here, and those stuff, they'll put you in the right place so that you end up getting the agent and getting those kind of auditions for those two. But those are my first ones. Vampire Diary was literally my first audition in Atlanta, and my agent was like, this will never happen again. Like, your first audition will never be this year. Like, it's just easy this time. Don't think anything of it.
No, that's so true. But it's getting me thinking though. Like, so obviously you've kind of had this, oh my God, detour that you've kind of veered off into puppetry. How, like, I guess, what was the acting work feeling fulfilling to you, or like what was it that kind of made you say like, oh, I'm gonna kind of branch off into this other thing?
Well, the main thing, one, I thought back about always having a love for puppets and like the just the power that is with creating those characters and getting back into that. And I wanted to find opportunities that would let me just do puppets, whether it was just like this guy who lets you put together a show, or whether it was let's just grab some puppets and throw some stuff up on YouTube, or whether there's a theater, which luckily in Atlanta there is, and working with doing fleshy acting, sometimes it's kind of frustrating when they look at you and they go, okay, he can be best friend. He's a little chubby. He can't be star. He can be thug number 2. And that's about it. You can read for those parts. And then so eventually I'll be reading all of these auditions coming across. And I'm not some kind of snob. I try to grab every opportunity. But there was some stuff that I was looking at and I was like, man, I feel like I can do more. And with puppets, it was just an opportunity to like, oh, it's your hand's gonna be covered, dude. You can whatever you can do the voice for or manipulate, it will be fine. Which was kind of freeing, and I think that's one of the main reasons.
That's interesting too, because I think a lot of I would guess a lot of actors would look at a puppetry audition and be less enticed to do it. And the reason why I'm thinking it's going to sound superficial, but there is something to having your face on screen, and it's not just a matter of liking, being self-indulgent. It's a matter of that having value. If they see your face, then like, oh, I want that person. Rather, when they're using a puppet, like it's not you in the same way, and they say, oh, I like that puppet. We got to find someone else that can like do a voice like that and manipulate it like that. There's less that you have attached to what's on screen, and I think that's subconsciously something that's in the back of some actors' heads, and why it's so important for it to be them on stage, and why they might not lean toward going to trying to go into puppetry for that reason.
Thank good. Get this industry smaller. I need to work.
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Actors don't go into puppets. Don't do it.
It's so good to have your face on camera.
Yeah, you got to get your face out there, guys. Don't
Puppetry's a dead end.
Just leave it to we'll do it. I mean, that's our burden. We'll take the puppet burden.
Yeah,
but no, you're right. You're right.
There is that other side though, is that also a lot of actors do have that, especially when they're starting off. I'll take whatever work I can get. So there is kind of both sides to that coin. But yeah, I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
It's a thing, and there's power in your image being placed on the screen, and I mean that's something that even when we were talking about when we came back here to do the Live Palooza before with David and Liz, like that kind of representation is important, not just for a culture but for individuals. They're like there's power in this box that we've built that pictures are shown on, and we can tell it. And America knew immediately when they started doing the presidential debates back in the 60s. They were like, we can see them and moving now.
Wow.
So there's the power of television, and whatever this thing transforms into next is this something that's immediately graspable by artists. And so I totally understand like wanting to get that face on to that screen. And I'm not away from that too. I would also like to be one of the Avengers. If there's an opening, I'll take that too. But I do love what puppets can do, because puppets are just, it feels like it's just acting from the soul. And not so much like the body. Obviously there's body too, but it feels like there's a lot of soul involved in doing the puppets.
Not to be a snob about puppetry, but I really do think that the puppet tool and being able to not worry about your body really allows you to access more of those acting muscles, because all of a sudden I don't need to think about like, am I going to, how am I going to transform my body? How, me looking like this, am I going to, convince people that I'm a 6-year-old or a snowman or, any of these things. And all of a sudden you put the thing on your arm, and that's, 60% of the battle. And now it's just, how do you find that soul? How do you find the emotions?
Absolutely. I remember we worked with, this is not too long ago, I did a workshop with, I cannot remember his name. Oh my goodness. I'll have to look it up. But a gentleman who's a teacher at University of Louisville, he came in and he did this extensive mask work. And we broke a mask on for an entire day. And a lot of it was just, it wasn't that we were like learning how to do stuff. He literally spent probably 2 hours just trying to wipe us neutral and get rid of all those things that we put in our body. So we had these masks on. He was like, no, you're still walking. It's not neutral. It's not neutral. And we be hammered trying to drop everything and trying to just come in as blank slate as possible. It's really hard because people carry so much with them. Their story is in their bodies a lot of times. And puppets are just, they start at that neutral, that character. Sometimes you could tell whose hand is in. You're like, oh my God, the guy's hand's shaking. But most times you're like, oh, there's a hand in there, and it's set neutral, and this character is allowed to just kind of exist on itself, which is powerful.
Yeah. Everyone's got their own little finesse and whatnot. Yeah, little movements and stuff.
Right.
That's interesting. Yeah, one thing that you're saying that I think is interesting, especially you're saying like you'd love to be on the one of the Avengers. Kevin Feige does watch our show.
Oh, so, good.
There's a good chance he's going to see this, so we'll put in a good word.
Let me go see up my website.
So you are still pursuing acting opportunities as well, equally so, would you say?
I would say equally so. The good thing about, I have always been the dude who's like, find where you fit in, but always try new things and always be looking to at least keep your eye on all the doors, so that one opens, you'd be like, oh, that door's open over there. So I mean, I did. At one point in time, I worked at the Center for Puppetry Arts. I worked at Whole World Theater, which is improv theater in Atlanta. And then I also would do stand-up at the Vortex in Atlanta. And they were all within a 2-block radius. So I would park my car at the train station, go to work at the center all day, and then after leave the center, walk down the street to Whole World, do an improv show or improv quick class, and then walk up and do a 5-minute stand-up set, just trying to figure out what is going to take off and what skills are going to build the other skills. And it was puppets open up really fast. Improv too. I was like, okay, I go here. So it's important.
But also just like clocking stage time, right?
Yeah.
Getting that confidence up and just putting in the hours.
And not only that though, but doing stand up, that's really cutting your teeth. You're up there alone and people are there. It's not like, it's one thing to be with friends and you're the funny guy because people aren't expecting to be funny. They're there to see comedy. And so like if you don't fully deliver in their opinion, like you just get roasted up there. It's tough. It's really important. I feel like it's important for every actor should do stand-up or some kind of one-man show, so you're really like, oh, this is what it feels like to really be in front of an audience with like no net and it's like alone, because you feel like you start to get the rhythms of how it is to work with other people when you're doing stand-up, and even going back and like having a bad set having a bad stand-up set one night, you're like, well, I got puppets in the morning, I'll be okay. But learning that balance between you and your castmates too, you start to appreciate it way more. Yeah, I can imagine like maybe someone being a little down on themselves because they did a bad take with puppetry, whereas like if you've done stand-up and had a bad day, it's like there's no bad take on set that will make you feel as bad as you did bombing doing stand-up.
I gotta take the same crummy material to like 5 other clubs tonight.
Right, yeah. Like I have to do this later.
Wow.
But all that stuff is like it strengthens you. I would say everyone do that. Being in front of those crowds with stand up and improv and even the puppet stuff. Like, yeah, you're right. Clocking stage time is insanely important. And the same thing goes with the puppets on film stuff, which I'm hoping to do more. And my face on camera is just like the more. I think you, Cam said, you said, Adam, the more you work, the more you work.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah. Because you're
absolutely.
Yeah,
wow.
For sure.
Is there ever much opportunities for Sesame Street? I know it has happened where sometimes they just throw a puppeteer as a human in the background and stuff. Is that something that they still do once in a while, do you know, or not really?
I'm not sure. I know that Jem Barnhart is she's made the crossover. She's doing she's Charlie's mom.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's right. I forgot about that.
Which is really exciting. That's really cool to see her be able to hit those home runs. Like, oh, she's a great actor and puppeteer in the same season. Oh my gosh. Same episode even. But yeah, I'm sure things like that pop up. The folks that they do pop up. There's something you will see in the next season. not with me, but with some other actors. I just realized in my head, but they are so good. Everyone there is involved with Sesame, the main puppeteers, the mentors, I like to call them. They're all so good at learning what the camera is and even fleshy or puppet stuff. They just got it, man. A lot of them are just really good in front of that camera, whether they have a puppet or if it's just them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's also cool. I'd love to talk about the Madcap just a little bit, because I got a call from Mel Hatch Douglas a couple times to come out, and like just the logistics of getting out to Cincinnati was like, oh, that's a little tricky, especially like when you're working a day job that you need for health insurance and stuff. But
right.
I'm really intrigued by their style, and I think you mentioned in Below the Frame them being the biggest puppet company in the country, if only by way of their puppet size. Can you just talk about that experience and what it's like to do those shows?
Madcap Puppets, for those who don't know what we are, what they are rather. Jerry Handorf used to be a Sesame Street puppeteer back in the 80s. He used to always talk about how he was like, I've been sewing that Elmo nose and playing chickens. I'm out of here. He leaves Sesame Street and he comes back to Cincinnati and founds his own puppet company with some friends. And that's basically what's been going on for the past, it's been years now. And it's now being artistic directed by Dylan Shelton. Mel Hatch Douglas is still over there. Sean Meddy. There's a lot of these people who are so ingrained. They love puppetry so much. And they're the reason that I'm even talking to you guys here today, because a lot of that style that they taught and a lot of the way that they led by example is stuff I picked up on. And I can always tell if someone's been through Madcap Puppets, like Aretta Baumgartner, who I don't know if you guys have talked to yet. She's great. Another person
we haven't had her on the show, but she's been like incredibly helpful in us doing the Cheers to Puppeteers series.
That's great.
She's just excellent. We love her.
We've pretty much shadowed each other all the way from Cincinnati. We never met. We were on tour at the same time, and she was working, I was working, but we always were like two ships passing. We'd never see each other.
Oh wow! But
like, as soon as you're around her, you can tell that like, oh, she's been working for Madcap, because there's something about that energy that all the performers have. We have but the puppets are really fun. It's a really incredible place to work. Just using the backpack puppets and the big walk-arounds. It's really impressive to see a company, that was so tiny, do something so big. And that's kind of the point. They do really big puppets, and they're
Muppet style characters,
right?
For the predominantly, but
right.
They're just they got to be heavy, right?
They're and I actually have a backpack in but they're backpack puppets, so they're not as bad as you would think. They use the camping backpacks, and then there's a lot of soldering. Mel Hatch Douglas and her husband Chris Douglas, who came on as the tech director probably back when I was there for 2007 or 8, somewhere around there. He's been working on putting the frames and stuff onto these backpacks. I'm sure Dylan and those guys do a lot too. And they build them up with certain kind of mechs inside them, so you're not having to carry a ton of weight. It's actually not bad. And I remember having that puppet on, like, I could probably do this, because by the time you strap in like a camping backpack, all your weight's kind of support it, and it's kind of balanced really well. And it was just really impressive that they could just kind of figure out like, this works, and not have to, because I've definitely had on big puppets. I've had on small puppets that have destroyed me and my body, but not there.
Yeah.
The work they do is really incredible, and I'm sure there's a lot of puppet theaters around the nation who are doing that same thing, serving their community, serving that region, and keeping that art form alive.
How far did they tour? Do you know?
We went as far north, and there's international travel too, not with me, but with some other puppeteers. We went as far north as New York, as far south as Alabama, and as far west as like Wisconsin, maybe like I'm trying to think what's in the middle there, Iowa maybe. So they knock out almost half of the nation, and it may be more now, but at that time, we did a lot of Chicago,
amazing.
but a lot of, I mean, almost all over the East Coast.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to move around that much. So it's amazing that they're able to do that. That's really impressive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, insane. Like the idea of just like two people in a van, like, all right, go to New Mexico, see ya, and they're just gone, and you're just like, we didn't. I feel like we had GPS. Maybe GPS was a thing. Very like, we're like, it doesn't work now. All right, well, let's get a map.
I was gonna say, you got a stack of MapQuest instructions printed out.
Oh gosh,
tape them to the steering wheel.
We had the MapQuest, and you would write down stuff in erasable marker on the windows. Like, don't forget exit 40. I'm taking a nap. But any of those traveling puppet companies who could just like let their folks go off like that, that's amazing. I guess that's like that's where the theater is from. Theater is used to traveling and running and being on the go, renegade style.
Right. No, that's so cool. And can you describe, because I'm really fascinated by full-bodied characters, because I just think that really sells an illusion of puppetry that is like super unique, and to have a puppeteer be fully mobile and just to like it's a really great illusion, I think. Can you talk about like just your appreciation for that and kind of what you've learned about puppetry and being able to do full-bodied characters?
I also really love full-body characters. I haven't got a chance to do any for Sesame yet. I'm hoping that'll change in the future. I'm down. But it's like you said, oh my gosh, I remember the first time like just getting into the full-body characters of Madcap, the pants that are always on, and then the backpack. There's something about, like you're saying, like there's no bad angle for a walk-around character, which is what I love. So the character is automatically taken, but it's a step up from mascot stuff, and I've done that too. Not as much a fan, because it's the limitations on what it does. Like, don't talk. No, I'm like, well, a lot of characters need vocal stuff, so being able to articulate with the mouth and bring a lot of character and then focus too in those full body characters is really important. Focus is really hard because when you're doing like theater walk-arounds, there's no monitor. It's all just making sure they use the right fabric so you can see through and then kind of get a gauge of where your character should be looking. And it's weird because you're working up over your head, and trying to realize where this character is looking. But those characters, and you take it back to even Carol Spinney roller skating with Big Bird. I'm just like, anytime those walk around characters, especially for the hints and stuff, and the folks who make those mouth articulating characters, even Barney, it's just very impressive the amount of character that you're able to bring into that.
Seriously, I had to do a mascot character for work on ice skates earlier at the beginning of 2020, and we joke at work that's why the pandemic started.
Oh no!
No, it was a ton of fun, but like you said, it was just a mascot costume, so like there was very little articulation or even character that had to come across, but it was just a nightmare. I had a blast because it felt like Christmas Eve on Sesame Street, but it was I was like, oh god, to have to do any kind of character while you're, it's just a bunch of wild cards all thrown at once.
And let me ask, like, how do people react to you? Because I feel like we have, in this country, at least that's all I can speak to, but we have a certain kind of relationship with the mascots if they're not inside of a sports stadium. We kind of look at them like, this guy's in a suit.
It was a little strange, especially because we were doing a film shoot. So like I kept having to take the head off to like coordinate with our director and our DP. So it was a little strange. Fortunately, it was in the middle of a weekday. So like there weren't a ton of kids around because there was a holiday week for them. But it was a little strange, but I think they realized because we were with a group that was like filming that they were just like, okay, we're going to stay away from that.
Oh, good.
But I do have a really funny story. Adam, I'm sure I've told you about this, but we did a gallery show at Damon, which is where I now work. But at the time I was just affiliated there as a student alum. And we did a beautiful like gallery display of all of Adam's puppets and his giant, what's dry clean only, Adam, like 8 or 10 feet tall?
Probably about 8 feet tall. Yeah.
Yeah. We got him standing up. So he's just a big display, giant 8-foot tall snowman. And someone turned the hallway to get into the gallery and they saw that just standing there. Mwah. They burst into tears and started screaming because they were like so freaked out by, especially when it's just still like, oh, it looks like a giant mascot.
It's like
but it was hysterical, and I'm a little, sadistic that way. But
the thing, as an adult, are you just like, I've lived for 30 years and not seen a real monster, but today I have,
yes.
and this is how I would react.
But the kids must, like, especially like if you're in a, I presume like a gym auditorium or just in a theater, like there are definitely kids who would be like genuinely scared by those giant walkarounds. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because they, like you said, like they're not something about with the eye focus and the moving, and they feel like, is there someone in there? Because usually you're not. Yeah.
My daughter saw Santa and she was terrified.
Yeah.
And I would say I might argue that at least it's human,
right.
Right.
And it's still so scary. But such a big creature like that is
Adam, just wait till the Easter Bunny.
Oh my gosh!
No.
Oh, you haven't got there yet. Oh,
yeah.
Just you wait, my friend. Wait until your kid is around an enormous bunny, terrified, and then they still have to sell you a photo package. Like, do you want 8x10s? Like, no. Want any of this?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. One thing I'm thinking about, because you said like you'd love an opportunity to do a walk around character.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, is there anything that you've done other than your other experiences that you're talking about to kind of prep for that? Because I imagine having a competence in monitor puppetry is very helpful, but I'm sure it's still different enough that it is kind of its own skill.
Yeah, the monitor, when you start working and talking about monitors, it feels like you should, whatever you are doing, you should just start over. Because I was doing puppets for 10 years, touring, and then my first day putting a monitor on, I was like, oh, I have to start over for puppetry and learn everything again. Just kind of figure out. That's kind of the prepping I don't even know where to start if I was to hop inside a walk around with the actual monitor on. I had a chest monitor on very shortly. I think I told the story on Below the Frame too, to do two-headed monster and some kind of shot. And immediately I ended up doing, they couldn't fit all the characters in. I ended up doing both heads of two-headed monster, and they put a chest monitor on me. And I was like, oh no, what did I do? And Tim Lagasse, the puppeteer, looked down. He's like, what are you doing, Chris? I was like, they just put this on me. I don't know what's happening. And he said, good luck, Chris. And he walked away. And I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. And just the idea of looking down and then trying to clock where your body is. So I'm sure it's a brand new set of challenges.
But now imagine that with doing it with like walk around feet on that are like 2 feet wide each, and then it's just like you have all the same obstacles of monitor puppetry, which is hard, but now it's beyond wearing a snowsuit. It's like snowsuit with snowshoes and all this stuff on, and
zero depth perception.
Zero depth perception, but also like obviously you're still walking around as a puppeteer doing monitor, but it's just like it's just got to be so different.
Yeah.
So I guess, again, to go back, is there anything you would do to practice for that? Because, like, let's say, actually, yeah, if another opportunity came up, they'd probably just audition people and, like, whoever just felt the most right for it, right? Yeah.
I would assume so. if I was on another show or any show and then get ready for do walk around stuff, I guess the only thing I really do is practice moving around. I have a tiny little monitor here. I would practice putting that monitor on me and trying to get keep my cord. I have a pretty long cable, so I would just practice that. Other than that, it's just it's kind of what we do as puppeteers. The idea is to pick up the tool and then try to shorten the amount of time it takes to learn how to use that puppet and how to emote through it. Because every puppet's going to be a lot different.
Oh, yeah.
But when you see when Marty picks it up, he's like, it takes him 10 seconds to be like, got it. And when I pick it up, I'm like, give me a moment. Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Let me, can I sit down? So
even just look at the difference between Big Bird and Snuffy, the way they're operated different, which is completely different than Heart and the other walk around characters. Like, each one really is its own complete different vehicle.
Which is the beauty of it. Stephanie Abruzzo was saying that most of this job is, and I'm now quote puppeteers all the time. My kids are like, "What? Who?" I'm like, "Oh, don't worry, just take the advice." But she was saying that most of this job is problem solving and figuring out how to do something, and which is transferable outside of just theater and puppetry. But it really is true. You really just are trying to figure out, how do I do this? And eventually get faster and faster and faster at figuring out how to do it and how to make something come across, which is great.
Adapting.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, this is kind of a nice transition then into talking about Sesame. I'm trying to remember, did you end up in the mentorship program just with one of the sort of cattle call audition things that they did, or how'd you find your way into those workshops?
The workshops I applied for, I did a workshop with Steve Whitmire. My brain was like, whoa. I did a workshop with Steve Whitmire. He came to the center, and that was kind of my first introduction into doing monitor work. And then just keeping my nose and ear to the ground. I found out about those puppeteer workshops, and the first one was in 2014 after a big break. There had been one in
something like that,
the mid 2000s. But 2014 I applied for that one and got in. And it was exciting, very exciting. We did 3 days of just like hammering in it. The first day was my birthday, but I didn't tell anybody because I was afraid. I was like, I need no more eyes on me this entire day. Just keep your head under, keep your puppet up. And we spent 3 hard days.
There goes birthday boy screwing up.
Yeah. Come on, let's get up here, birthday boy. Oh, how old are you?
Yeah, that would have been bad.
So I kept it a secret. And after those 3 days, it was just radio silence for a full year. Nothing. Wow. And then call comes out the next year around like March that they wanted me to come in and work for, that was season 46. And there were a handful of us who they pulled in for that. And that was kind of what got the ball rolling. The mentorship program actually was going on after I had got Hoots. I do believe. I feel like I got put into it a little later. I'm in like that second grouping of them. So I had already done some Hoot stuff before I was added to the mentorship program.
Yeah.
So I did the jazz concert and the 50th and some other stuff here and there. And then that was the offer for Matt, was like, hey, we're doing the mentorship program. We figured that you might be a good person to add to. I was like, whatever helps me progress and gets more people watching and helping me, please. Because being not saddled, but being like given that puppet, I was like, oh boy, this is big shoes to fill. And so luckily I'm surrounded by people, wranglers, puppeteers, writers who remember, oh, well, this is how Kevin did it. This is how we've seen him do it before. This has been tremendous help. Or this I would do it, which is also super helpful. So yeah, the mentorship program has been great. Anytime I can be in a workshop with those guys and ladies too, it's been tremendously helpful.
Yeah, no, I that's wonderful. And it's interesting. I think of some characters who sort of when a puppeteer, is no longer working with a show, that there's some characters like an Elmo or a Kermit or an Ernie that like those definitively like need to move on. But there are some characters that are sort of just of an era. And I guess personally, like I sort of would have thought that Hoots would be one of those characters, and then I was like blown away and so happy to see him back for the 50th year. What, like that call had to be so surreal of like, hey, do you want to come in for an audition for this?
It was insane.
Wow.
I got the call literally. I talked to Leslie about this, and then she was like, "This is meant to be." I got the call literally. I was working with a theater company. Things were not going well. I had a bad feeling that whole day. I was like, "Today feels awful." And they were like, "The director wants to see you." I was like, "Okay, cool." And then before I get there, I got the notice. So like, "Hey, Chris, we want you to come in and read for Hoots the Owl." I'm like, Hoots is back? I'm like, Hoots is back. I'm like, sweet. All right. I'm going to come read for that character. Literally got done with that call, went back there, fired. But
you're like, I don't care.
Yeah, the whole time they're just like, I'm just sitting there like, yeah, I gotta go because this works out perfectly. I don't need to ask for time off or anything. I'm just going to New York. But obviously that does build a certain kind of pressure in there.
Sure. And was this like 2018 probably?
That was 2018 in December.
Okay.
2 of that day. Yeah, I know. And then the audition happened at the end of January.
Okay.
So I got the materials and stuff. They always send you out sides or the script stuff, songs that they want you to sing. And it was just a lot of watching YouTube and watching, I don't know if they were on HBO by then. They may have had some stuff on there, the old episodes, but a lot of YouTube stuff to watch that character. And then immediately everything started to click back in. And I was like, I kind of remember loving this era of Sesame and watching the Birdland stuff and the Savion stuff and the Winton stuff. And like that whole kind of like era of Sesame was really cool to me. And I just ate that up for like the weeks before the audition. And then that audition time came and that was great. I mean, it was insane. And I was actually really impressed everyone who they brought out for that audition and that we auditioned with. A lot of great puppeteers who obviously are going to be, they'll have other opportunities and some of them have other stuff that they're already doing. They're fantastic puppeteers. I was amazed that when I got that call, I was like, are you sure? Because whatchamacallit was there and I love that guy.
Right.
And that was also my birthday.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I was like, this is either very good news on my birthday or the saddest birthday ever.
So when is your birthday?
It's February 5th.
We're going to check in every year. So what happened this year?
Go buy a lottery ticket.
I need to make sure. Was I there? I think this year I went. I don't know if I wasn't on. I think after my birthday I went back to do 51. So that's also cool. It's really close.
Yeah.
But that the character, and I'm like you said, like he's very reminiscent of that era, and I'm glad that he's kind of being at least worked back in a little bit because it's really fun to see those characters come back.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so was the, I guess I have 2 questions. First of all, was the voice something that it was sort of challenging for you to access, or is that pretty safely in your vocal range?
Yeah, it does not. He doesn't hurt. It's down there and it's grumbly. And that's my wife was really concerned. She was like, is that going to destroy your voice? I'm like, no, this is not even that low.
Right.
It doesn't feel like when I hear like David Rudman doing Cookie Monster, when you hear it in person, you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. It's really just like rocks in the back of a truck. You're like, he has that. It's so impressive to hear it when you're like right underneath his armpit doing it right here. I'm like, this is amazing. But
it's still gotta take a lot of strain, though. I would imagine, because that still has. It's, again, I agree. It's not as gravelly as like Cookie Monster, but it's still got a bunch of that gravel in it.
I think
Doesn't it?
Not really. I mean, it sits in a place where if it was a little bit lower, it would start to shred. But it's just high enough that I could do it all day.
Really?
Thank goodness.
Amazing.
Because I worked on before the audition, even before I go do hoot stuff like interviews and other stuff. I also work on figuring out how to find the right place where it is, because too low and you're like, oh no, I'm coughing, I'm too low. So I've worked on exercises vocally that make sure I'm in that right range to not fry everything, because that would be be horrible.
And then did you say on Below the that you actually play saxophone?
I do. I actually play saxophone.
Oh, that's awesome.
And this is that was right was it right after? It might have been around the same time when I was getting ready to get it for Hoots. I actually got a saxophone again. So it feels like learning puppets on monitor. You're like, I remember being really good about this, and you start playing like, oh no, because I played all through college and then realized very quickly when you play from, I played from since I was in elementary school. You realize when you graduate, you're like, oh, people have been borrowing those instruments. Like, how much does one cost? That's how much it cost?
That's why it was given to him as a gift on his birthday.
Right. Yeah. No, we thrift shopped and found the saxophone. I was like, oh, it's fantastic.
Oh, that's great.
And so, but it's yet another thing. I'm like, it's really nice. Something about an instrument too. It's very close, like how, I don't know. It feels,
Oh, God.
It feels
I
right.
played the saxophone when I was in 5th grade. Oh my God.
Oh, no way. I didn't know.
I was awful.
That learning, little children, I'm going to find out quickly because I'm sure I'm positive my kid is going to play something. But like that, you realize like how thin the walls are in your house. You're like, oh, it gets really loud, huh? Okay, it gets really loud.
I remember when I was so excited. I was in like 4th or 5th grade, and like when you're in 4th and 5th grade, you get that instrument. It's like you're like, it's a lot like getting your first car. It's like, oh my gosh, look at this amazing shiny thing. I thought it was so cool. Before I even had one lesson, I grabbed that saxophone and I went outside. And I walked around the whole block with it, just blowing into it as loud as I could.
The people just like looking out.
Oh my God!
Looking through the blinds.
Shame. I wasn't even holding it right. You know how you hold it like here?
You just had it over your shoulder.
Here? I just had my arm under the whole thing like this, just blowing into it, walking around. Oh my God!
I don't know what's going on outside. You kids stay inside. There's some weird stuff happening.
And my mom was probably just like, I'm just glad he's not doing it at home.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Instruments are. I like music. I like music a lot. Obviously, to have a character that likes music so much and plays music is perfect.
Right. And it would probably be pretty easy to fake Hoots playing the sax just because his hands are so big, but it's got to be nice to kind of like in your mind and in your heart know like, okay, this is how I'm playing him, and he knows. I know how he would know how to do it.
It is. And it's kind of cool to be. I mean, I'm a huge fan of saxophone players too, so I have a bunch of folks. I'm just like, oh, okay, well, so-and-so kind of moves like this, so-and-so kind of moves like that. And I'm still kind of trying to get that down for Hoots on camera, because he only gets a couple shots per season, obviously. So a lot of it's me recording myself here. I'm like, okay, this is kind of, let me see if I can do that next time I'm there.
It reminds me of, we talked about it a little bit with Tim Lagasse of timlagasse.com when he plays the piano for
Rolf and Dr. Teeth.
Yeah, Rolf and Dr. Teeth and stuff. And having that background helps a little bit with that. So that's really cool.
Yeah. It is. Sometimes you're able to be like, oh, that's just how I'm going to do it. Sometimes you're like, well, I'm not doing the hands. So oh well. But it does have, to be familiar with the instrument it's really good.
Yeah. And so the Jazz at Lincoln Center performance was just amazing.
wow.
And I rewatched it because I knew we were going to be talking today.
Oh, cool.
Rewatched it last night, and just I mean, you guys all did so fantastic. I'm not a musician quite, I'm a great appreciator, but I have a hard time like quite quantifying, different kinds of performances. What's different from having to perform like any of those songs if you were doing them on the street or just for yourself versus like now it's getting sort of jazzicized and it's it's this big band? Like what do you have to do differently to prepare and to perform the songs that way?
One of the first things that for me is that usually when they're doing song numbers, and I'm sure there are exceptions to the rule, but usually they're all pre-recorded and canned, so you really you can focus on one thing at a time, which helps. So, like, I'm gonna sing it now, and then I'm gonna work on all the little movements. But not only was this you had to do singing live, but also in front of the audience as well. So yeah, it's just trying to balance all the hats in front of an audience, which they appreciate it too. The audience in any form, I'm sure, loves to see an artist doing a lot. But the main thing for me was learning the music really, really well before I got there, because I'm working with seasoned performers, and honestly, that had been my second time out. I mean, I've done tons of theater and other stuff in front of an audience, but like this is the time when I'm standing in front of my jazz heroes and standing beside my Muppet heroes. So it was really important to me to just nail every song that I could before I put a puppet on. And then the other half of that is to just physically prepare to keep a puppet above your head for the entire section that you're on that stage, because it is live and there are no cuts. So there were zone challenges. And
were you guys on wheelies too?
We were on wheelies. They brought over the wheelies, and we in my brain, when I kind of envisioned it, when they pitched it, I was like, cool. I'm standing there, I got my little suit on, Hoots is here like Avenue Q style, right? I'm just kind of doing it easy. And then when I saw the wheelies, I was like, oh dear.
Oh, no.
Okay. So
I can't stress enough, like on Sesame Street, you're on a rollie, and if you need to like cross a scene, you're maybe at most moving like 3 or 4 feet, possibly, unless it's a tracking shot.
6
feet. and on that, you're like going the length of a whole stage at Lincoln Center.
They timed it. This is the first thing we did because we had rehearsed in the whatever the rehearsal hall is with the band, which is fantastic. And then it was Thursday, or I forget which day of the week, we moved into the Rose Hall, and I was like, oh my God, it's enormous. And we timed it from trying to roll as fast as you can from one side of the wing to the other wing. I think it was like 30 or 40 seconds of them just like, here we go. It was like, it was a really long time. And also to make sure that when you get halfway there, your character's like, okay, what? Chances, hold on, let's take a time out. But yeah, it was.
Oh my gosh!
And there are
no,
no
to be honest,
slaps.
I didn't. I don't know what I thought, but I just assumed it wouldn't be live. But of course, it had to be live, right? Mm-hmm. And the fact that you guys were performing like that, I can imagine people just saying for just exactly what you just said that, like, oh. Of course it'd be live. It'd be easier, right? Well, how is that different than Avenue Q? But at Avenue Q, you're standing up, you have posture, you're aware of your presence on stage more. But being cooped up in a little wheelie, I mean, it was impressive, the performance before knowing that, but just knowing those conditions, it's remarkable that you guys did all that live. It was on point. It was amazing.
Watching those guys do that, because I'm just like watching all the other Puppeteers. I'm like, you guys are champions. It's like watching them, like, it's fine. I'm like, what? Hoots is super heavy. He's pretty heavy when you're out there like that. I start to go, he's pretty heavy, because it's the whole body and all the necks and stuff. Yeah.
Have they ever really done something like that where it's live like that? Because I think from what we've heard too, even stuff on the float, like that's all pre-recorded and whatnot too, right?
They
It's
did
gotta
a
be
Carnegie
freaking-
Hall show a couple years ago.
Right.
That it was like all the Henson characters. So it was Muppet, Sesame Street, and the Fraggles
Okay.
together. But and it was live band, live singing, but they weren't on rollies. They were performing behind a wall, so they were able to walk around and stuff.
Yeah,
So, which is
my
a little bit different. But yeah, the rollies, because I mean, obviously, when you're singing, you want as much straight up and down as possible.
Yeah.
So like being on the thing and then this whole thing
and crouched and
Yeah.
Oh, and did you even have monitors?
We had monitors. We had
you did. Okay.
We had big monitors, which the monitors were great. We had monitors and teleprompters because let me tell you, I've gearing up for taking over the character. I've sung "Put Down the Ducky" probably like 30 times in front of people and like auditions and this and singing this and this. But when that band's counting down, you're like, what is it? Oh God!
Put down the what now?
Yeah. So it was helpful to have that stuff. But yeah, they were really good at how they work with puppets. And I think it's because we had Ken Diego. I think he was directing, so it was good to have Sesame folks and wranglers and folks be like, well, we kind of need this, we kind of need that, and they were like, yeah, cool, got it. Yep.
Yeah. And just to point out too, so you're on a wheelie doing a live show, doing live singing, and again, like you are talking about, your puppet tool that you're using is first of all, you've got the prop of the saxophone and so much other manipulation, but also the mechanism. In Hoots, he has the eye blink. How exactly does that work inside that puppet? How is your hand positioned? And
he has
just an extra thing to juggle and think about, right?
Yes. So he has a controller. It comes out. It's on the cord, and it's
okay.
It's hand control.
Really?
So usually, what I'll do is it depends. If I'm just doing Hoots, I can sometimes put the controller in my left hand and work it with just like my thumb. While I'm kind of gesticulating as well. If he's playing saxophone, that's when I'm like, dang it, I can't do that at the same time and play. And, I can't do all three things.
Oh, really?
So
doesn't he usually, when he hits that high note and goes up, close his eyes?
Yeah, he'll close his eyes, right.
Yeah.
So which is, but depending on if he's playing notes or whatnot, that gets a lot harder. So I usually either have, like this season, I had John Kennedy doing both my hands, which I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. Or I'll have someone doing right-handed for me and doing my eyes sometimes, which usually I'm put together with. I got veteran Puppeteers. I'm like, whatever they decide is probably going to be pretty good. So I trust them. I trust them more than more than I think they know.
Yeah.
But
so how did it have to work for the Lincoln Center show?
For Lincoln Center, I tried doing the mechs myself. But it ended up being the person who was right-handed for me. So it was Carmen for the opening. Then Carmen would do my right hand and my mech, and then Leslie did it for Put Down the Ducky.
Okay.
And then there have been times when the workshop has, like in the 50th, they'll rod both of the hands to the sax, and they'll take the controller on the rod, which is real nice because you can kind of move around, but you lose some of the fingering.
Of course, yeah.
But I mean, like I said, I'm paired with fantastic people. So I'm like, I'll be fine.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. When you film for the show, because you just mentioned 3 different people who have done the hand for your character, is it typically I understand for the reasons for the live show that things have to get juggled around, but is it generally consistent who's doing it for you?
No, I've had different people do it every time I've been on the on the stage, which is great too, because it's like, one, they're under my arm and they're doing the hands, but also I'm still like settling in with the character. So if I need to, like, hey, you think, what if I did da da da? It's nice to have somebody who's literally just there, and I don't feel like I'm not right-handing for them and interrupting their focus. They're right-handing for me, so I can be like, hey, since I got you here, can I ask you a question? Because for the 50th, the whole Put Down a Ducky, the new version, that's Matt Vogel right-handing for me, which is so nice. I'm like, oh, this is great.
Oh my gosh.
Once again, it's like if those older puppeteers the veterans, they know, one, they know what they're doing. Two, they know how to advocate for themselves. If there's ever anything, they're like, no, I need that. You can ask them to pull that. Hey, can we pull this thing over for him? And like, which is nice to kind of know, like, oh, I can say that, or I can do that, or what is not gonna get me fired. So they,
that's right.
Don't ask her to do that. Ask her to do that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So which is so it's been different people every time he's been on camera so far, which is
that's cool. That's
really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's benefits to both because from most other people we've talked to, it sounds like it's pretty consistent over the years, like with Marty and Pam kind of doing each other's characters and whatnot, and maybe it'll end up being like that for you too at some point too. But yeah, just at least now it's probably good, you know, that you're still newer there, to work with more people and build more relationships. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I've been coming on and off of the set since like 2015, but every time you get on that thing, you're like, oh, it feels like day number one. So, because you know those guys get a lot of game time, which is good. So they're there to make sure you look good too. And a lot of it is also it's just like trusting that what you're doing is good. Like you know how it looks when you watch it back. Like you got it. So it's balancing that of being surrounded by people who are like that looks good, and being surrounded by people who are like trust yourself. You've seen a show before, right? You watch the quality of what we do.
Yeah. When you guys did the recorded version for the street, there was a lot of actors in that show or that version, a lot of like cameos. Were they all there, or some of them look like they may have been like added clips or something? Do you know? Did you meet a lot of those people?
In the bigger shots, a lot of the bigger shots, like the Welcome to the Party, that was everybody. That was insane. It was everybody in that shot. There's a lot of folks. I'm not sure. I got there. I pulled in. I think I was coming out of Georgia, and I got off the plane, and like I made it to the set right before the director was like, "Action!" Like literally, I walked on, put Hoots on, sat down, and I was like, okay, let's go. And
oh my gosh.
And so I had to take everything in. Really, it took me a while because I got through like the first take. They looked around. I was like, "Hey, Nora Jones behind me!" like, what is happening? But yeah, there's a lot of folks there, and then some other stuff. Like I think for the end stuff, they may have clipped in some different performers, different stuff. I didn't do Hoots for the end of the show, the song, because I had to get back by then. But yes, I'm sure they filled it. A lot of people, a lot of cast, a lot of Muppets on that, and that special was great.
Wow. You know, something when people ask me what the hardest part about being a puppeteer is, I often reply the imposter syndrome because you're just like in this community with people who are, like in so many cases have been like your icons all your whole life, and not to stress on like the negative or anything, but like, can you just talk about, you know, if that plays a part when you're, you know, doing these things, and how you can overcome that, or how you try to overcome that when you know, at the end of the day, you got to just be thinking about that performance.
Yeah, I get in my head a lot because. And a lot of that is is because when you act, when you're acting as fleshy actor, they tell you all the time there's a lot of reasons why you don't get the things that you get. Maybe you're too tall. They need someone who is shorter than the star. They need someone who's younger than the star. Maybe you're a little bit heavier than we need for this role. And so when you come into work and you're thinking, and you do get stuff, you're like, whoa, well, if I don't get stuff because of very superficial reasons, oh man, do I get stuff for superficial reasons? And you start to get in your head about that. And me, definitely, because this show is on season 52. I like, my favorite shows made it to like 9. And I'm like, you know, this is still going on. So there's so much history and stuff. And the puppeteers who come out of here are legends. And there are folks that I'm just like, wow. like the fact that every now and then I may get a text message from Matt Vogel. If you told me that like a couple years ago, I'd be like, well, that's incredible. What does he want? Just working with these folks, you're trying not to idolize them, because that doesn't have to matter.
No.
But at the same time, it's just like realizing that when you do get stuff, a lot of times is stuff that is meant for you. And there are things that other people see in you that you probably don't see in yourself, and may not see it for yourself for a long time until you look around and you're like, oh, I've been here for 20 years. Okay, apparently there is something. And it's part of it is just trying to hold on and to keep working, keep excelling, and not try to think about, man, do I belong here? Because it feels like my weaknesses I'm very aware of. I pick things up slower than people. For me, it's like, oh, maybe my manipulation is not where it needs to be, or maybe it's a attack here, or maybe I can name, for me personally, maybe I can name but 3 other Black puppeteers who have better manipulation than me. And so that gets into my head too. But a lot of it is just knowing that you do have strengths. There are things that you do very, very well, and those things may get you to where you need to be. And the things that you don't do very well, the people who put you there have faith that you can learn, and they can close those gaps, and you can be where you need to be.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think that's a really wonderful point of like not necessarily like you acknowledge the fact that you may have weaknesses, but knowing that like you don't have to keep those a secret, like, and that the other people around you know that like, okay, maybe you're not great at this one thing, but he's got all these other things that he's wonderful at, and like that'll give him the space to level up in those other regards.
Yeah. Talking to Ryan Dillon, who I cannot believe is younger than me. Every time I'm talking to him, I'm like, this guy's like 50, right? Because he just
so
smashed on
his,
I'm like, his wisdom is crazy. He should have he did grow a beard a little bit in pandemic. He should grow a really long one. He's just like really, I hear him say stuff, but he said not too long ago, he's like, hey, look, if you can sing, you can act, you can do a lot of different stuff. And so if you're worried about puppets, like just know that there are people who can do puppets but can't do the other stuff. But the fact is, like, this is Sesame. They're gonna teach you. You're gonna grow into that stuff by being on the camera. And so that's just it's pumping up your strengths and trying to work on those weaknesses and knowing that it'll come.
Yeah, no, that's so important. Yeah, as long as I think that's what tends to happen for most people who end up getting to places that they're happy with, is that level of just authenticity and like you said, being able to admit where your strengths are and where where you need some improvement. And that's so important, and really in anything, especially in acting. And I think sometimes you don't see that as much in those types of performance places, because again, a lot of people want to hide. It's like what social media is in a way. It's kind of putting out your best for. You don't post about things that you're not as good at,
right?
As much, right? It's just kind of that world that we live in. But being able to have that humility and again the authenticity of just be who you are as far as your skills and in every way, really.
Yeah. I'm going to start doing that. Just an Instagram profile of just all the fails.
Yeah.
That would not be a horrible thing. Like, this guy's really transparent.
That's right.
Look at the other one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. He's got bills due.
Yeah, well, in a way, that's what a part of our show is too. Is that's always our final thing about all of our times that we had Puppeteers.
Okay.
which I'm sure we'll get into in a moment too. But I kind of started leading to this with my other question too. But like in the new version of Put Down the Ducky, there was some big actors in there too, and just knowing your acting background, like Sterling K. Brown, and of course like Whoopi Goldberg, you were right there on set with them, right?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to meet a lot of them, honestly. Well, one of it is because I was so new doing Hoots, I was terrified. But the whole time, but I remember when Nora was because they basically, the producers or whatnot, directors would pitch the idea like, hey, we're doing a new version of Put Down the Ducky. Can you sing a couple bars? And oh yeah. And but then watching them listen to Hoots singing that song in the overlay. That is so crazy because Nora will be like, it's Hoots. I was like, oh my God, it's crazy. And it's not me, obviously. It's that character because he rings something in people. And Sterling K. Brown too, watching everyone connect and do that show. And I wish there were cameras on me watching them because it's probably the creepiest thing that exists. Me so like just staring like a weirdo in a corner, like, oh man, she's singing it. This is great. Or Megan Trainor, like watching them just like, but it's really impressive. The ideas that the Sesame folks have, and I love it. The people who they get in here, they bring great people in here.
Yeah, well, it just reminds me too because we talked to Fran Brill not too long ago, and she talked about how when she was doing the Muppets on Sesame Street, and sometimes there was like guests on that were from Broadway or from movies and things that she had actually worked on with them. And just, I mean, the way she described it sounded almost being a little envious, even though she is very grateful for what she was doing and the performance she was doing. But, a lot of her heart was set on acting, and that's what these people are coming on for. And I was wondering if you had any similar types of feelings to that, or has that ever gone through your head at all as far as like, maybe even from a standpoint of making connections, but really just like looking at these other people that are there for those reasons?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't. Whenever I'm on set, it feels like I hit lotto. And so I by the time I get there, I'm just so happy that I hit the lotto. I'm not wondering about what currency is in. I'm like, well,
of course,
British pounds. But I understand. It's weird to think that my puppetry career and my flesh acting career move at different speeds. And it feels like the puppetry career is just like outrunning a little bit, and the acting is like, hold on, I'm coming. Give me some time. I got all this stuff from Teen Wolf on my back.
You're in New York now, though, so you could definitely get like a Law and Order or something.
Well, I'm still in Atlanta for now. True. Yeah. Right, but right, I mean, I come to New York so much. You're right. I work as a local hire in New York. So I could, if my agents were like, yes, no months or whatever. But I have some cool stuff coming up too. But
that's great.
It's something about the Sesame stuff hits harder because it's immediately connectable for the household. Because I have a 5-year-old and he's just like, yeah, we're back on Sesame Street, or anything cartoon auditions. He lights up for that kind of stuff. So it's really cool to be able to share that stuff.
That's so cool.
Definitely.
Wow. It's very fun.
I get one thing I just think about too, because so many people, I gotta be over 90% of people's relationship with TV and movies and stuff is just seeing the final product, and they don't see the work that goes in. And I can see some people seeing, they still think of this even with actors, like, oh, look how, he's a good actor, but like I could probably do that too, and I think people often see that with puppets, not people that probably watch the show necessarily. And I just, and part of what is making me thinking of this is because I saw in the Put Down the Ducky, the new version, that Sterling K. Brown was in that scene, and I worked with him on the Marshall movie, and I got to see him. Like, it's one thing to watch him perform, in the movie, but watching him do like the different takes and this watching him, it was remarkable. I mean, I already had respect for him as an actor, but being able to see him do it on set and under these conditions, it was absolutely remarkable. And I guess for you, for working on Sesame Street and performing this way, what might you say to people that they're missing from just seeing the performance?
Well, I mean, the performance it's the same thing as social media. You're seeing the best possible product put in front of you. It's been edited. It's been, in some places, things have been CGI'd or whatever. You're seeing the final product, but there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of, and not even counting, like, obviously, training and workshops and all that kind of stuff. But even when you're on the set, there's a lot of taking the material that's been put in front of you and reworking it on the fly, giving a lot of different options, working with other performers to see what the rhythm is going to be. It's work. And Sesame works super fast. they work fast, and they set up this kind of like, that's the one thing I noticed when I step on there. There's a system of just like, we train everyone really well so that we can do stuff really fast, but not without losing quality. And they deliver on that. Things are like fast, good, done. And it's impressive. But that's what you'd be missing that if you thought it would just hopping up there and you've got a TV hooked up to your camera and you're in your room. It's a good place to start, but there's a lot of stuff that goes in as soon as you add character and relationship and script. It's tough.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's exactly right. Yeah,
definitely.
I got kind of a goofy question.
Yeah, go for it.
I went to your website. What's with the pineapple?
Oh my God. Okay, so this is so interesting. Okay, we'll go there. Let's go there. So when I was engaged to my wife, we would be walking around, and then whenever she would see a very cute baby, she'd like, oh my God, look at that baby, look at him, look at a baby. And she would just like find out, and I was like, hey, look, you cannot just yell out, look at that baby, okay? I understand if you have a baby who's very cute, but it really weirds people out sometimes. Sometimes you're like, oh, cool. But other times you're just kind of being like weird about it. What if we had a code word? And so our code word was pineapple. So every now and then we'd be walking around and she'd be like, oh, some great pineapples around in this store. And we'd be in like a JCPenney. I'm like, where? Oh, yeah, it's very, very cute kid. Very cute kid. Another pineapple behind you. Oh, yeah.
Ma'am, this is a Lowe's?
Yeah, right.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, so when we had our own kid, we were like, we're having a pineapple. And so I always kind of think about that whenever I see pineapples.
Wow. I don't know what I expected as the answer, but
it's very random.
That's cool, though. I like that it's not completely just random. There's a reason behind it. It's kind of cool.
I'm not Hawaiian at all. Yeah. There's no connection to hula or anything. But yeah,
that's
awesome. That's my so that's our pineapple. Cool. We were a pineapple.
And then Chris, did you have anything that we didn't quite get to ask you in this time, but like you were really hoping that we'd be able to talk about, or anything we may have missed?
Nothing now. I have some really cool stuff coming, and hopefully I'll be in touch with you guys, let you guys know when that drops. But yeah, nothing. Just everything's at a real interesting kind of like bubbly level. As my wife is like, everything's kind of like it's probably gonna explode in a couple of months. I'm like, yeah, let's hope. So like that's where kind of everything is right now. But hopefully
that's cool though. No, that happens with Jean Marie Keevens every time she comes on. It's just like a couple of weeks before she's got a whole bunch of things that she could talk about.
Ooh, so give me 3 weeks out. Yeah.
That's great.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to talk with you in the future about all that stuff and more. But as we wrap up, we didn't know if you had a good puppeteer story, something that didn't go right on set or in a recording booth or something that you could look back now and have a good laugh about it.
Here is the worst I've ever felt.
Oh, boy.
The worst I've ever felt. I'm doing... This is so bad. It's fine. It's not that bad. I'm doing a walk around character, and I have to send you the picture of this guy. He's this ogre. He's a giant ogre. It's a walk around character. It's Madcap, and I have the on. He's full out. He's big, and I'm walking. The show is over. I'm walking back to go backstage, and some kid is like heckling me, and he's like, "Hey, you're not real. Whatever, huh? Hey, kid. Hey." And I turn around, I go, oh, yeah? And he goes, and this is a big kid. He's big. He's like older. He's like middle school. He's like crying, and he crumples. And oh my God, I felt like everyone was like, what did you do to him? And I'm like, I had to. And I like had to take the puppet off of me. And I like run over like, it's okay. I'm on the hair. And the teacher's like, what is wrong with you? Like, he was heckling me. So that was a quiet ride home. I was like, what are you thinking?
That's funny.
That's my. They weren't my puppeteers, but oh my god, I felt so bad. That was.
Oh my gosh!
I've never seen water pour out of someone's face like that. That was like.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Pretty bad.
That is really funny. It was a tough guy until it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was
Until
gonna
it
be
counted.
fun.
Yeah,
right,
just a
right.
Little banter. No.
A little tit to tat.
Yeah. Oh my
It
god.
was like middle school age kid. It was like. Oh boy.
Wow.
Oh, that's good.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story. Also, is there what's the best way for people to follow your work?
Oh, Instagram. I keep up. My wife makes me post everything to make sure it looks good. Instagram, I'm at Chris VS Cap. At Instagram, Twitter. That's usually my handle for that. My website is ChrisThomasHayes.com, and I try to update that too. So you can take a look there, Kevin Feige, if you're listening.
Yes,
I'll do. I can wear a Mandalorian helmet. I can fit all that stuff.
That's right.
So yeah.
Awesome. Perfect.
Wonderful. Well, Chris Thomas Hayes, thank you so much for joining us on Puppeteers.
Thanks a lot, guys.
This has been a
Thanks for having me.
blast.
This
Oh
is
yeah,
Yeah,
can't wait to have you
absolutely.
back on.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
All right.
again.
Thanks, bud. Bye.
Cool.
We're at the end of another episode of Puppeteers, but the fun doesn't stop here.
Visit puppeteers.com for show notes and links to projects mentioned in this episode.
Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at PuppeteersPod, where we're posting new things every day.
Puppeteers is edited by Matt Bowen and made possible thanks to viewers like you.
If you enjoy this content, you can join our incredible Patreon patrons who are supporting the show for as little as $1 per episode. Those folks get access to early releases, uncut episodes, official Cup O tiers just like we use on the show, and can even submit interview questions for our guests. Go to patreon.com/puppeteerspod to learn more.
Another great way to support Puppeteers is rating and reviewing us on iTunes, leaving a comment or subscribing to this channel, or tell a friend about your favorite episode.
Thanks again for joining us on Puppeteers Puppetry Shop Talk, in-depth interviews with the world's most passionate puppeteers.
Hosted by me, Adam Krutinger.
And me, Cameron Garrity.
For me.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
sure. Yeah,
what-
we're
Sorry, go ahead.
let
Adam.
me take it.
Yeah.
So we're excited to get into the thickest of so we're excited to get into the thickest. Oh my gosh, this has never happened. Oh my gosh, let me try it. The thick of things. Okay.